You're watching a documentary business webinar, and I'm Peter Hamilton. And here again to help us understand how AI, artificial intelligence, is transforming the documentary ecosystem is veteran producer, Sundance Award winner, Philip Shane. Philip, you're a serious reader of the AI tea leaves, and today you're going to bring us up to date on what you've noticed in this incredibly rapidly evolving ecosystem in the last couple of months. So, Philip, over to you.
All right. Thank you, Peter. And thank you again for having me. Yeah, it's been very exciting. You know, the AI world advances very quickly. It's not advancing quite as quickly as it was a couple of months ago. There was an insane pace at one point where literally every day something was new, but every few weeks something new is coming up. And there's a brand new feature that's just been added to ChatGPT, our beloved large language model, the most popular of the bunch. And this feature is a significant advancement. It's called Code Interpreter, which I think is a terrible name because it doesn't really tell you very well what it does. But let me explain. Up until now, if you wanted ChatGPT to read through a large bunch of text, that's one of the most powerful uses of it. For instance, I could give it, you'd love to give it a long article. People have done that. Give it a long article and have ChatGPT summarize it for you. That's great. Or maybe something you wrote that's very long that you need condensed for some other form. ChatGPT is great for condensing that. However, you are really limited to about 2,500 words maximum length of that thing. You can now upload files. So it used to be you had to paste the text into ChatGPT. That was it. You can now upload files. There's a new button at the bottom of the ChatGPT screen. There used to be only a little block, like a little place where you type some text next to that little thing. If you have ChatGPT Pro and you're using ChatGPT 4, so I do specify that you have to be using the best option available there. There's a new plus, a little plus button. You press that, and you can now upload a file. So you can upload a PDF or a text file, for instance, of an entire book. There is some limit to it, but I'm not sure what it is. I think you can upload almost something of almost any size. And for instance, I have done, working on a documentary right now, and we've done a bunch of interviews with our main character, and probably about 6 hours worth of interviews. So I have those all transcribed. And I would love to work with ChatGPT. This is something I'm really exploring, to have ChatGPT read those transcripts as well. So it's as up to speed on the information that I've got available as I am. And then work with it. It can analyze it. It can find things in the text for me. I can do all kinds of interesting things. I can pull quotes with it, et cetera, et cetera. And one of the craziest things it does, like, it's just wild to watch. As before, it can still only keep a certain amount of text in its memory at any given point. Okay, so let's say it's some bunch, I don't know, some thousands of words in its memory. And the size of these transcripts are much larger than it can keep kind of in its RAM, as you might say. But what it does is I'll say, tell you what, go through the entire transcript and pull for me every moment where my main character talks about his father in an interview. And it then says, oh, sure, one moment. It uses my first name, which is a whole nother thing you can have it do now. And it says, okay, Phil. And I'm now going to write a program to search manually through the entire document. So it's just going to start writing computer code in Python on the screen as it creates a little program that will allow it to search. And you can see it, the way it's thinking. It creates a bunch of keywords. It's going to search for father, but it's also going to search for dad. It's also going to search for parent. I mean, it comes up with all these other words. And I also asked it to also bring the time code anytime it finds the quote. So it's going to also make sure to grab the time code. Anyway, it does all this stuff, which you can do. And then initially that code will actually not work, which is kind of weird and fascinating. And then it'll say, hold on, Phil, there's an error in my code. Let me fix it. And it sometimes runs through 2 or 3 iterations of this until suddenly it works and it starts spitting out results. Wow. There's so much to unpack there. But yeah, go ahead.
So Peter. It's more, I call you Philip very respectfully, and ChatGPT calls you Phil very cordially. They're way ahead of me. So let's just recap then. Previous version, you can load a short document, for instance, and get a summary, a longer description, for instance, of your bio, a resume, and you could generate a short description, for example, a submission to a festival or for an application for a grant or something. So that was limited to a very small document. Now you can load, basically, I mean, I've co-authored a couple of books. I could load up the whole book if I had the copy, and it would search for very specific solutions. Yeah,
it may have a limit around 50 pages or something. I'm not absolutely sure, and it does seem to change each day, but nonetheless, you can do some pretty big things. If you upload something too big, it'll tell you, I need something 25% smaller than that or whatever. And you can just break it up into chunks because you can upload multiple files. So anyway, yeah, it's astounding. And let me just clarify, actually, before you could never upload anything. You could just paste some text in. So the fact that you can upload things is significant. You gave me an opportunity just to say also one other thing real quick. You mentioned how it uses my name. There is also another pretty significant new feature in ChatGPT, which is called custom settings. I believe I have that correct. So if you go into your settings now, there's 2 blocks for you to say whatever you want to ChatGPT, but you can basically tell it, address me like, it says, how would you like me to address you? How would you like me to talk to you? And you can include all kinds of information there. I say, please don't use cliche. I actually said to it, don't flatter me, because it has this habit of saying, oh, Phil, that was really wonderful. And I said, you're insincere. You're just a machine. Don't flatter me. But you can also say, if I ask you to pull quotes from an interview transcript, please always grab the time code, things like that. So that you don't have to keep telling it to do that, because this is stuff that it'll read before every single time it answers. And you can say what name you want to be called and stuff like that. An enormously helpful step up in terms of research, and secondly, in drafting particular, copy solutions. But this is text. You mentioned when we were preparing for our webinar this morning, Philip, that there is a video development that's worth commenting on too. Yeah, just a little bit in terms of the video. Everyone has seen the probably the still images AI generators like Midjourney and Stable Diffusion. Those are exceptional at generating really beautiful and sometimes photorealistic single images. There are also video AI generators that essentially create animations, and you can even do things like you can give it a still. This is kind of astounding. You can now give the 2 companies I'll mention, the video AI companies that I think are the best, Pixel Labs, Pixel, and Runway.ml. Those are the 2 leaders in the field. You can actually, with each of those, upload an image, like you can an image of a guy, I don't know, a guy wearing a bow tie sitting at a bar, and you can then turn that into a 4-second video. So it's not very long, but it will actually animate that and make it look like he's turning or, lifting a glass, or people walking around in the background and stuff like that. Not ready for prime time. It's still pretty crude, and they are very short, but they have gotten quite a bit better even just in the past month in terms of what they used to. So I would say for doc filmmakers, this is going to be, well, for any filmmakers, but for doc filmmakers, this is a real tool for visualizations. Anytime we have to, where we would normally include B-roll or reenactments or something like that, these animation creations could also be useful for us. We could say, I need a shot of a guy sitting at a bar, and you'll be able to generate that. It's still a ways away. I think at least 6 months probably before we see something that's really smooth, and that's just a total guess. So, but keep an eye on it. And if you want to play with it, go ahead and start learning the tools now. I will say this, if you learn the tools early or start playing with them when they're really simple, as time goes on, you will know them a lot better than people that wait a long time and then try to learn them when they're already very complicated. So
try it now.
Try it now.
So the 2 programs again, Philip?
So Pixel Labs and Runway.ml.
6 months is nothing. I just booked my airline tickets for a trip to the summer down in Melbourne yesterday, and that's in 6 months away. Yep. So there you go. It really feels like tomorrow already. What about there was one other solution we were going to discuss. What was that? Forgotten.
Well, I do want to mention, first, I'm just going to give one quick shout out to, there is another large language model that I've been playing with called Claude. Claude is from a company called Anthropic. I would just check that out. It's just another thing. It's not quite as full featured as ChatGPT, but it's of the alternatives, it's one of the best probably. With ChatGPT Code Interpreter, this thing that allows you to upload files, you can also do things like something our producers in our audience might find really useful. You can upload sets of data. You know, it could just be raw data that's comma separated or tab separated, or it could also be a table already formatted in a table. But you can upload massive amounts of data, financial data, whatever you want, to ChatGPT, and then you can ask ChatGPT to first put it in a table if it wasn't already in a table. You can ask it to create a graph by, you know, asking it anything, you know, show me this over that, you know, this factor over that factor, create a graph, and it'll do that. It'll do multiple graphs, and you can change the colors, and you can reformat the thing and stuff like that. Make a pie chart, make a bar graph, whatever you want, just as you would in any spreadsheet program. But you might find it, I don't know, nice to be able, it's a little more simple. It's not as full featured again that you're going to get in Excel, but you can do things. Though what the really interesting thing is to be able to use the AI's the large language models, the real sweet spot for them is their ability to synthesize information. So you can actually start to ask it, of the multiple films that I've got out in the market right now, which one of them is doing the best, and or are there any problems? Can you guess why is everything going down? And it will start to give you thoughts about that. I must say that this is still very early and people are still playing with it. And I encourage people, if you're up for it, to experiment with these things, because what we all want to find out is it giving good advice or not? But I think the fact that it does it is sort of, it aims to have this capability of analyzing data and working for you as somewhat of an analyst or a consultant, and be interested to see.
Well, it pushes the value of the operator, you know, higher up the hierarchy, if you wish.
Yeah.
In production hierarchy, it gives the senior analyst more and more power. Right. Philip, we're going to keep in touch. It's really great talking with you about these developments. Likewise. We are aware of the important, social impacts of these questions, but we also believe that, use it or lose it. You've got to be on top of these technical trends because the stakes are so high for your career and for the projects that we either produce or distribute or fund or whatever my listeners are involved in. Okay, Philip, one quick takeaway.
They are getting closer to being an incredibly powerful partner in the filmmaking process and in any other process you have. The fact that it can I talk to it like a human being, and it talks back to me like a human being, and I'm able to brainstorm with it. I'm able to find themes in my story. I'm able to, make storyboards, things like that, and have it give me, not just create a storyboard image that I asked for directly, but actually suggest other images that are also powerful. So suggest other shots, give me a bunch and I'll choose the one that I find most interesting. But as a brainstorming tool and as a, I don't know, I hate to call it a thinking machine, but it's getting closer to that kind of thing. So
getting close. So Philip, listeners and readers want to learn more about you. Where do they go?
You can go to my website, philipshane.com. It's Philip with one L, SHANE.com, or on Twitter or Threads at Philip A. Shane. I
think you should change it to Phil Shane.
Yeah.
If AI's ahead of you. And of course, you want to read more about, you want to find Philip's previous webinar and future webinars, because we'll do more. Go to my documentary business newsletter at documentarybusiness.com. Philip, great to have you on board, and we will do it again.
All right. Thanks, Peter.
Bye.
Bye-bye.